Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to the Heartland Hot Dish Podcast. This is where we come to the table and rediscover the connection and meaning to our food and culinary treasures of the Great Lakes region. Join us as we discover the traditions and stories woven into the fabric of the Heartland cuisine, from the iconic dishes that define the Midwest to the hidden gems waiting to be discovered. We'll take you on a mouth-watering journey through the diverse culinary landscape of the Great Lakes area. Get ready to indulge your senses and ignite your appetite as we explore the rich tapestry of flavors that make up the Heartland Hot Dish. All right, we head into the sweet taste of summer today. So joined today with Lee, Daniel, Marcy, and myself, Kieron, and we're going to be talking about the summer tastes of the Great Lakes area. I think we're going to be covering things like the Boston Cooler. We're going to be covering Superman ice cream. Apparently, I thought that was going to be a very brief topic, but it's going to get off the chain very, very quickly. And then we're going to talk about American Spoon, beautiful spoon fruit cherry, and then finish the day with some lovely fudge. And as a Devon boy, I'm very happy to talk about fudge at the end of the day. So do we want to get started with the Boston Cooler? Who wants to get us going?
I'm going to throw Lee under the bus right away. Right, because I thought this was an amazing part of the story, right, was that, right, sometimes if you live in an area, you may not be aware of the things that really makes it special. And I think, right, what Lee had said was thinking about the Boston Coolers. Like, is that really a Michigan thing? Because it says it's Boston, and I think that's a very natural response, right? Because that doesn't make any sense. But if you were to go to Massachusetts and ask for a Boston Cooler, people would look at you like you had a second head. They'd probably say something fairly rude because it's Boston. But this is a thing that is ours. Kieron was already saying what the origins of the Boston Cooler were, at least the name.
You can go for it. Go for it, Daniel.
Right. Well, what he said was Boston Boulevard.
It may not be true, so I'm going to skip past then. Daniel's role.
It's my turn to go under the bus, right? But what this is, right? For anybody who's not familiar with this summer treat, is that it's a combination of two things. It is vanilla ice cream and Werner's soda, and some people may not be familiar with Werner's, but some people may, or more people are probably now.
I think it's more out there.
It has expanded, but I remember in my youth it was something that was really hard to find. I knew about it because my grandmother went to Ohio State, so she knew of it, and it's effectively a spicy ginger ale, right? And there's some. I don't know if it's mythology or if it's actually true about it being, stored in wooden barrels.
I read up on it, and I think it was.
It was. I don't know if
was,
that's still the case, but
there's not. I think they put wooden chips into part of the process of it.
There's a giant mural, in Flint, Michigan, adjacent to a Halo burger stand that has all of these gnomes with the wooden barrels of Werner's. And I don't think it's by accident because they're at Halo Burgers, they actually serve the Boston Coolers. They have a machine that just kind of dispenses it, and it's already sort of pre-blended, and it's this delightful combination of vanilla and ginger in this creamy, sort of slightly tangy. It feels almost a little bit fizzy type of way. But I'm kind of curious as we look around the table because I feel like everybody here has had a Boston Cooler before, and right, and there I have had it served two different ways. One in that blended form, and the other with almost like an ice cream soda or root beer float with the ice cream floating in the soda. And I'm curious about which ones you've had, which ones you prefer, and why.
Well, I'll start because I grew up drinking Werner's, and I never knew that Werner's and ice cream was a Boston Cooler. But we used to love to go. The bottling plant for Werner's used to be right on Woodward Avenue, and you'd go, and there'd be a solid picture window, the whole building, and you could just stand there and watch Werner's being bottled up. It's not there anymore, sadly, but I love Werner's. When you take that first swig and it makes you hiccup, and it's wonderful.
It's the same kind of game as Coca-Cola back in the day. It's a pharmacist trying to create a medicinal reason for it, and so the whole thing of like having your upset stomach and drinking a little ginger ale slash Vernors to keep you happy is that pharmacist background of what it was. So it's the same thing.
But I would call Werner's not just ginger ale. I would call it gingery ale. It's very gingery. It's lovely. I love Werner's.
It's old too. It's like 1866. Like it's
1866.
yeah, it's an old boy.
Right. And I feel that it used to be the case back in the day, but now there are so many other, amped up ginger beers, ginger ales, right? I don't think
It's lost its spiciness a little bit over the time.
Right, and Marcy and I were talking about that earlier too, right? Is this our memory? Did we remember it being spicy when we were children because children, or has it actually evolved as it's gotten more mass market to be a little bit less bitey?
Yeah, one of the warnings that comes with drinking Vernors is that, you don't want to inhale it because it might cause a sneezing fit or burn your sinuses, right? But one of the things that I do remember as a kid about Vernors and enjoying this Boston Cooler treat is that the reason Vernors lends itself so well to the vanilla ice cream is it does have a little hint of vanilla to it. So once you get through that first initial really fiery bite, then it kind of mellows out with that vanilla flavor. And I personally always enjoyed it with the scoop, like a Rupert float.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
never heard of the blend.
Yeah.
I've never experienced the blend version.
The blend can be very disappointing, especially if you're not expecting it. But
I want the ice creamy finish.
Right.
Like that's what I want.
But it actually makes sense from that fast food burger perspective because it's almost like a sort of a loose shake, and if you are sort of in your car eating your burger and drinking your Boston Cooler, it's nice to have that already homogenized, if you will.
Yeah, I did look it up, and they are still in oak barrels apparently. So I was wrong.
In
Well,
barrels.
I looked up some history here, and it was first Werner's ginger ale was first served to the public in 1866 by James Werner, a Detroiter, developed it, and he began his career as an errand boy at Higby and Stern's drugstore in 1858, which is getting to your point, Kieron, about being a pharmaceutical tonic. Later becoming a junior clerk, he experimented with a medicinal tonic of vanilla and spices, adding ginger to calm the stomach. And then he left a mixture of it in an oak barrel, and then he went on to serve in the Civil War in 1862. So I don't know if he survived. No, he survived the Civil War because he developed it in 1866.
Yeah, and they've said in some of the things you said about the recipe changing and it not being the same. I think that's when it was taken over by like the people who own Dr. Pepper. I think it's United Brands, whatever. Like its own Schnapple, Dr. Pepper, and Werner's are under the same catchment now.
Right, and it's possible that it's all owned by the Coca-Cola,
Sure.
which
Yes,
owns
yes.
everything. But
Yep,
I was kind of curious, as a chef, right? As you build your Boston Cooler with the scoop of ice cream and the soda, does the soda go in first and the ice cream after,
Well,
or
now we're
vice
like into
versa?
the English scones and whether you put your milking your tea first is weird. Like people who put milk in a cup before they add tea to it have lost their minds. You are 100% putting in the soda first and then you're adding the ice cream. 100%. Otherwise, you are accepting the mess. You are embracing the froth of hell because that thing will explode in your hand, go up everywhere. Which would I prefer? I would probably put the ice cream in first and pull the Vernors over it, but I need to do that in a bowl the size of this house in order to not get the froth everywhere. So I'm definitely Vernors, ice cream on top. And I would say that's true to any of the ones I like. And I think I said it, like, I want the ice cream at the bottom at the end. I want to have, like, a little ice creamy treat. I want to drink it fast enough and then get to eating my ice cream.
And do you use a spoon when you're enjoying this, or is it
Oh, no.
a spoon?
I should say no, there is no spoon.
no
There's
spoon.
that, like, it's stuck to the bottom of the glass and the ice cream's at the bottom and you're trying to, like, not get it in your face while you're trying to get it down.
Marcy, spoon?
Yes, long
Civilized
long
human
spoon.
being over there.
Spoon? Because my favorite part, I'm also, Vernors on the bottom and ice cream on the top. There are other folks who like to do it and will accept the mess because it will have
Sure.
a creamier soda and serve on the
100%.
bottom, right?
Frothier, yeah.
So you
Right.
you like it more float style.
I like it more float style, floating the ice cream on the top. But I love doing the spoon because my favorite part about all of this is when you get the frozen bits of the soda that surround the ice cream, and scraping that off with the spoon, and then having it refreeze on it again.
Yes.
Right, that's
Yeah.
that's my favorite. And my struggle, of course. All right, because right, is keeping the balance even so that I don't end up with excess soda or excess ice
Oh
cream.
no.
I want it all.
Yeah.
Right.
See, I'm going right down. I want that ice cream at the bottom of the glass, and then I want that finish of ice cream. I
want
need
that finish of ice
Oh,
cream.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not drinking it super fast, but I like when it's just a little bit of ice cream's melted in the soda. It's got that slightly like sour, creamy taste to it,
Oh, yeah.
and then
Yes.
like I don't want it blended. I don't want to stir that sucker up. I want that like slightly adjacent flavors rather than they've been blended together.
Yeah, no, totally. I think you hit the nail on the head. And Daniel, you talked about like the little frozen crystals of ice cream like around the spoon, but to me, it's almost like this. It's almost like an ice cream soup, but not the homogenized that we were talking about. But you get down to the bottom of the glass, you have that perfect bite of ice cream surrounded by just enough liquid, and with its little like
it's a-
frozen crystals.
So it's a Boston cooler and it's Verner's. Does it have to be a specific? I know that it doesn't have to be. Nothing has to be. You can have a Boston cooler without a Verner's. You could choose a different ginger ale. I know you just winced at me, but like, what's the ice cream you should use?
Well,
It
right,
must be the ice cream you should use.
I was actually going to ask not about a specific brand of ice cream, but I was going to ask people's personal preferences about using soft serve versus hard
What?
scooped ice
It's
cream.
not ice cream.
Yeah.
There's my answer.
Well,
Moving on.
that's why I said soft serve as opposed to soft ice cream, right? I agree, but I know that some folks will prefer to have those soft swirls
So I'm going to throw in a little bit more history here.
to avoid the question.
To answer the question.
Because I'm curious to know how it came to be called a Boston Cooler, and I do know that the Verner's Company did copyright Boston Cooler in 1967, but I don't know why it's called Boston.
We covered it earlier. It was the
Yes.
Boulevard, Boston Boulevard. Yeah, in Detroit.
Detroit?
In Detroit. Yep, Boston Boulevard in Detroit.
Marcy, soft serve or hard ice cream?
Definitely hard ice cream because
Hard ice cream,
yeah,
yeah.
that perfect bite has to be that texture, that slightly softened hard ice cream, but it has to be able to stand up to the liquid. And the bubbles, of course, are gonna break it down even more. So
There's a reason why I like you guys, right? Right. The soft serve is, there will be people who like it, but yeah.
Soft serve's an odd entity of what it is.
It is, and right, as we talk about summer special treats, right? That's one of them for some people because the seasonal ice cream places often are soft things, but we're wisely not talking about those today.
Yeah. Do you think is there any other regional versions where regional soda's turned into a Boston? Because it's not a unique. Like clearly, the root beer float is one of them.
Sure.
It is not. I mean, there probably is. I'm not going to go Google. I don't want to know. But there must be others where, like, Dr. Pepper was created or something where somebody did it and then it was probably popular but not popular enough to kind of hit the mainstream.
Sure.
Because Boston
Right.
Cooler is something, like, outside of Michigan. When I lived in New York and I've lived out in California, I've lived up in Maine, all of it, I have totally heard of Boston Cooler way back then. Before I ever, like, lived here, came to Michigan.
And what was it? What were they?
No. I'm saying I heard of the Boston Cooler in all of those spots.
right.
I'm just there must be that regional ice cream soda mix somewhere else out there because it must be back in the soda jerk
The
stations,
soda
right?
jerk stations, yeah. When you talk about the pharmacies,
I wish those had survived because
Yeah.
they have gone. Like there are so few of those real soda jerk stations left.
One of my favorite ice cream drinks is an old fashioned ice cream soda that is made with chocolate soda and vanilla ice cream.
I'm sorry, what?
Right, chocolate soda, right? Chocolate
Yeah.
soda. If you're
I'm sorry, what? And you're
right.
gonna
So
come back down
it's
to ground now.
Sure. So it's
I'm from overseas.
very good. It's simply chocolate syrup mixed with seltzer water, and then
Yeah,
then
it
stir
was-
it up.
Again, it comes from
Are
these
we
soda
talking
jerk fountains.
Hershey's?
Is that any different than ginger syrup mixed with
No, it's
seltzer
not.
water?
But
Right.
somehow it seems wrong. In my
I
head.
understand.
There is
right?
such
Right.
a wrong
Right.
brain as a chef knowing that water and chocolate should never be in the same place at the same time.
Well, except that's where the vanilla ice cream comes in, right? Right. It plays this important role. Right. There was also this ice cream. Oh, so we're thinking about other sorts of soda. Perhaps, and I'm going to Vermont. I can do some research. because in Vermont there's a soda called Moxie.
Yeah.
Right.
My
so-
sister's from Vermont.
yeah,
They live up in
right.
Burlington.
So presumably someplace in Vermont they've taken Moxie soda and put a vanilla ice cream in it. Right. It's not a stretch of the imagination to take those regional.
I think it
sodas.
must be that those soda jerk stations are different because there's pictures. So I live in Chelsea, Michigan, and there's the old soda jerk station. There's pictures of inside of it. There were such beautiful things. We talked about the ice cream shop that's now shut and is going to reopen in Ipsy.
Correct.
Right, and so that spot to me is that because it almost has the soda jerk station. It's more of an ice cream version of the same thing, but like an old soda jerk stand with all those wells. There's a we ate somewhere. Me and my wife went somewhere where they still had it for they would make their own Coca-Cola just out of the syrup. You pump in the syrup and then you jerk into the rest of the
Right. Well, it's not just the syrup too, right? This hits on a whole nother topic, which is a soft spot for me, which is the egg cream. But it's the spigots of the seltzer that actually had two different modes.
Yeah.
Right? It had the hard mixing mode and sort of the soft filling mode.
Yep.
Right, which was critical for forming those egg creams. But right, subject for another day.
See, I wasn't going to overly Google into the world of this. That's what came up. I was like, regional versions of a Boston Cooler, and the New York egg cream comes up. The Black Cow is the root beer float. That's what it's called. Black Cow is what it's called back in there. There's a Purple Cow, which is grape soda and vanilla ice cream.
Ooh.
There's Brown Cow, chocolate ice cream and cola.
Shaking
That is
your
a terrible, terrible name of things. There's the Orange Float Dreamsicle. And then the Texas style Dr. Pepper root beer float does exist.
Yeah.
Not root beer, Dr. Pepper float.
Sure.
So that is out there. And then there's this terrible, California, I'm so sorry. And that's why you're not welcome to the table in our Great Lakes area, is the lemon Coke float. That sounds awful.
Oh,
Vanilla ice cream,
I
Coca-Cola, and
will
a splash of lemon juice.
Yeah, so I've had lemon Cokes before. There used to be a
Actually,
right.
that doesn't sound bad to me.
Sounds
Lemon
awful.
Oh, again, traditionally, these soda jerk fountains, they did have their own flavored syrups. You know?
yeah.
So a lot of us grew up with, the cherry Coke. It's, it
Yep.
comes already flavored.
My wife, a fresh, Coke, cherry Coke is a life-changing thing. My wife loves those when we get out into the world.
But has she had those at a soda fountain?
Yeah.
Yes, right.
If
But
we go
lemon-
anywhere, we go to try to find a soda jerk station for the soda fountain.
Yeah,
for it.
lemon being a traditional.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
There used to be a
Ugh.
Coke store, right? A Coke soda fountain in Coconut Grove, Florida, and I went there and I had the lemon Coke that they mixed up fresh, and also a chocolate Coke.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
How about a chocolate cherry Coke?
I don't know. There's something in my chef brain of for the year, because I've made chocolate sorbet, which is a little bit of a weird oddity. Again, you should not mix water and chocolate together. That is a wrong thing to do. But the sorbet actually holds up really well. It was
With
a good,
chocolate sorbet is amazing.
sure, great chocolate
Right.
sorbet, and we used to make a chili chocolate sorbet. I could get on board with that, but
Chocolate water ice.
But
Oh
I
my
don't-
gosh.
I don't
All right.
understand. Okay, moving into the rest of this world. So the Boston Cooler, it's a big part of your childhood as the three of you. Like it was something you had as a child on a regular basis. For you, maybe not as
No,
much.
no.
Didn't touch you.
This is I've moved to Michigan.
Come
Boston
here.
Cooler. This is amazing.
Lee is-
No, I just drank gallons and gallons of Verner's. I didn't really partake in Boston Coolers all that
Marcy?
much.
I had a few growing up. I feel like I still had a preference more for root beer floats because root beer was my soda of choice. However, I did have maybe a handful of Werner floats or Boston Coolers.
See, I came here and I'm probably like Daniel. I was like, oh, this is delicious.
Right.
Like it was like, because root beer float I've had even back in the UK. They made it over the pond, whereas the Verners definitely never made it to Europe, or has not yet. Maybe it has, but I've never seen it over there. And once I had that, I was like, oh, this is good. And I think I had it up in Maine. I
Yeah.
think I had Hurricanes, a restaurant up in Kennebunkport when I lived up there. And that was funny to have a Boston Cooler that far away. Before my sister lived in Michigan. I'd never had one here. I think my first one was probably up in Maine.
I still have to admit that I think a good root beer float with like a good chef made root beer, right, would still
See, I'm a-
eclipse the best Boston Cooler.
Okay, I'm going to drift like we always do. Have any of you had dandelion and burdock as a soda?
Mm-mm.
No.
Never heard of it. See, that's my root beer.
Mhm.
Root beer doesn't really exist back home. So dandelion root and burdock root made into a syrup. It's a little bit more like birch beer over here. Tastes a little bit more like that. And that is how I think of root beer. Root beer to me, it doesn't have the same flavor. I would agree. Like a very chef-made version of a root beer can be exceptionally good. We've made one of those kits at home with the kids. You know, you get the little box of the spices to do it. And then I'm like, well, that was okay, but let's go make real root beer and what that is. And I sent my kids out once to dig up our yard of all the old dandelion roots, because it literally is just dandelion root dried out, turned into a syrup and put into it.
Well, I went to Upland Hills Farm Day Camp growing up from age 5 until I was 18. And we used to make root beer from sassafras roots.
Yeah, I love some sassafras in the world.
That was the best.
I got me a
That was
sassafras
the
stick
best.
sitting at home right now.
Yeah, that was the best.
All right. What are the burners for our Verners?
Right. As long as we're talking about Verners, I think one of the most fun things about living here in Southeast Michigan is you can go into any 7-Eleven and there you have a chance of getting a Verner's Slurpee.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's one in Chelsea right now. It's
Yeah.
in the mix
Yeah.
with it, and equally very, very good.
Mind blown.
Yeah. I do like that. That to me, the spiciness of the ginger. I would agree it's less spicy than I want it to be now, because I used to not that, but when you get really gingery ginger beer, it like makes your eye twitch a little bit. That's the kind of amount of ginger, and that's what Verner's was back in the day for you.
And again, as a child, I don't know if it was just a
Sure.
sensitive palate, but I do remember like accidentally inhaling this stuff as I went to go take a sip out of a can, and you know,
And getting that
having
cough.
yeah,
Right.
getting that cough and
right.
the burning sinuses, and you know, my nose is
And
running.
hiccup. I always, even to this day, if I crack open it'll make me hiccup the first.
Oh, I
first
still have it in the house for the kids, because I used to carry Canadian Club
Mhm.
before, like that was back home, and that's what you'd have when you were maybe sick, Lucasade and Canadian Club. But now it's Verner's, and we always have a couple of cans in the house. I don't know that my kids love it, and they probably just equate it now to being sick.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Right, like I think that's the weird thing
Mm.
when you do those kind of
I
things.
love
All right,
Vernors.
I'm going to shut down the Boston cooler, and I think we're going to move into what I thought would be a very brief conversation. It might just be the rest of the night here when we talk about this. Superman ice cream.
Yes.
So, again, I didn't know this, but there's meant to be flavors of those colors, right?
Yes.
Right. And I didn't know that Superman ice cream was a thing either until moving here.
Oh,
And,
okay.
Right. And then, yeah, no, it's a Midwestern thing.
I think I had it, the first time I had it was I think it's a chocolate shop now, but it used to be an ice cream shop that was on Main Street in downtown Ann Arbor. It was that little ice cream next to the Prickly Pear. Do
Okay.
you remember there's like a chocolate shop that's like
Yes.
slightly indented? That was where I had the first Superman ice cream, and it was just color. It wasn't.
Killins?
No. It was an independent, and then it turned into a pure chocolate shop, and then I don't know what
They
it
had
is
ice
now.
cream.
Yeah, they had ice cream in there. I don't remember it being flavored at all. It was just colors.
So I think right. I think the heritage of this is largely that this is a thing for children, right? Because it is.
So perfect
It's
for me.
bright. It's bright for anyone who doesn't know and who hasn't seen this. It is a bright. You go to an ice cream shop. You look inside the cooler. You see all of the different bins of ice cream, and they all look really sort of nice and and like ice cream. And then one looks like it's just like a jar of Play-Doh all mashed together.
Sure does.
With red and yellow
My kids
and
have
blue.
never picked it out. You know that? I've got a 9 and 11-year-old. I don't think either of them have ever had Superman ice cream.
Right. That's right. That's amazing. Right.
No, it's blind-boggling because
Right.
everything else in their life, bright colors, those are fun.
Right. So, but as far as I can understand, right, there's a lot of disagreement about Superman ice cream. And everyone has a different name for it, but also there are different flavors associated with the different colors, and that there isn't one necessary. I think Marcy was saying that one thing is technically correct, right, right, but the one thing that everyone can agree upon is that it's yellow, blue,
You don't need the
and red.
facts to get in the way of a really good story that we're about to have.
Yeah, it's often said that the colors are the most important aspect of this ice cream.
Well, and is
And
there
so
a specific set of colors too? Because I've seen a lot of rainbow versions.
it should be blue, red, and yellow.
That's it.
That's it.
That's traditional. Yeah.
What other colors have you seen?
Oh, I've seen purples. I've seen oranges in there.
In
I've seen like the
Superman, right?
No, that is
hundred.
not. that is
And
not
that's
And
not
it's-
rainbow sugar,
Right, and I know that you said the name is semi-protected. I think or at least somewhat protected. I've seen it as Superman ice cream and be the multicolored swap shop of everything.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So this Superman ice cream was developed by Stroh's in Detroit in 1938, and technically, it's thought to be named after the superhero character, but because the Superman character's name was never licensed, people often use different versions of the name to avoid issues with trademark and copyright. So we hear versions of like Super Cow, or in
I've seen
Zingerman's
Super Cow.
case, Super Zinger Man
Yep.
is the name we use. But the one thing that is known for sure, and Stroh's developed this during Prohibition when they could no longer make and serve beer, right? So they started making this ice cream instead. So Superman is largely associated with Stroh's in Detroit, and they did have flavors for each of their colors. Now, I think, Kieron, probably when you tried the one in Ann Arbor, they do make a version out there, or like people
It's
have
just
made
basically
versions
vanilla
where
with
it's just
color.
vanilla with
Yep.
colors.
It's probably the one I've
Um,
experienced the most is that versus the flavored one.
It's very common. Whereas Stroh's originally, the flavors were traditionally Blue Moon,
Blue Moon for the blue.
for the blue, and then you had Red Pop, which is, again, a Michigan thing.
Which is a very dangerous thing.
Very
Just for anyone not in Michigan or not had the Fago Red Pop. Wow. I like
It's-
sweet, and I am a fan of very sweet. This makes your whole body go
It
into
is
coma.
syrupy sweet, and then the yellow traditionally for Stroh's was lemon, and then other places over the years have changed this lemon flavor up to be either custard or a banana.
Yeah, I think I've seen banana out there, and like I've seen like the blue raspberry banana. As far as those flavors, the red pop, that's fascinating.
Which is it has a strawberry-esque flavor, but it's not just a basic strawberry.
'Cause when you blend those ice creams back home, it was ripples. Like we would have raspberry ripple, blueberry ripple, and that was just your one and the other. But the fact that this made it all the way to just be Superman, and again, I don't think I've ever discerned that it was just the three colors. I always think I've seen so many different colors in there. Maybe it's one of those like cultural things where in my head I feel like that's the way. I've definitely seen oranges and purples in there before.
So my favorite story about Superman ice cream is my best friend, who grew up with me in Michigan, moved out to Seattle as an adult, got married, and had 3 kids. And during every single pregnancy, craved Superman ice cream. And of course, out in Seattle, it was not available. She couldn't get it. So she would frantically Google recipes for it and would reach all these dead ends because people had, of course, all these different thoughts and ideas about how you recreate. I mean, what is a Blue Moon flavor?
Sure.
For example, everybody has debates about that because a lot of people say, oh, it's just
What is a blue moon
it's just
flavor?
blue vanilla ice cream.
I was going to ask that as well because it was the thing that you had said earlier and we just sort of glossed over.
Yeah. So what is Blue Moon? And then, of course, like
Well,
Red
can
Pop,
we talk about the Blue Moon for a second?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
what do you think Blue Moon is?
I think it's a combination of vanilla with a little bit of fruit and spice, and I don't know exactly how to discern what that. I do think there's a fruitiness aspect to it.
And I would concur, right? That
Yeah.
it's not just vanilla, right? I think to my palate, I pick up a hint of almond, and that almond can also, I think, be some of that fruit and spice.
That's
Kind
a
of like
nut. It's a nut allergen.
An amaretto.
Oh, my eyes are twitching now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Kids'
it's
ice
there's-
cream with nuts in it. I'm done. Shut it down.
I think
Okay,
there's
I have
an
some
amaretto
information
flavor.
about Blue Moon.
Oh,
There she goes.
Bring it on.
please enter the chat.
Home cooks attempting to recreate the flavor agree that only one person who goes by chef number 218515 of food.com came closest. The chef's recipe calls for raspberry flavoring, lemon oil, and vanilla pudding mix.
What?
Vanilla
The
pudding
recipe
mix.
temporarily vanished, but other websites.
I think it's
published
okay that it
later.
vanished. I'm a little concerned. Yeah, I think
So-
I've experienced Blue Moon where it's got stuff in it too.
Oh.
like fudge pieces and
Oh.
thing.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
up at
Oh, like Cookie Monster.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I've had that up at Grindstone,
Yeah.
up in I think it's the thumb area up in near Caseville. Grindstone has a really good.
Yeah,
premium.
Mooville makes a Cookie Monster.
Newville,
Mooville,
yep.
Right. And I also thought it was interesting to hear that you associate red pop with strawberry as opposed to something closer to cherry.
Red pop is just sugar with red food coloring.
Ah.
There is
There
no
you go.
flavor
Right.
involved.
There you go.
What is so
It's red fruit.
what is so amazing, I think, about the human brain, right, is its ability to look at something and to associate a
Yeah.
flavor with it and to make you taste it
Oh,
too.
but back in the day, we would, for years, I have done this game where you would use golden beets and you turn it into a different thing and see if you could tell me it was a beet.
Ah.
And 100% I could fool you all. Even telling you
Oh yeah.
now and then do it a month from now, you would not know what I was
Right.
doing.
Well, and,
We would do that in kitchens all the time.
and this is what happens with wine experts too. They get fooled, with putting in food coloring into white
100%.
wine and being told that it's red, and and it's used as a proof text that wine experts know nothing. But I think that conclusion is horribly false, because I think they know a lot, but they are also human.
Yep.
And-
We're
and-
easily deceived by all we are is a way that we are guessing. Our brains is looking at something because I think it's in that perception thing where the thing I'm seeing outside the corner of my eye, my brain's filling it in. I'm not really looking at Lee over here. I just know Lee's meant to be over here. So my brain's going, Lee's probably over there. So I'm going to remain considering Lee's there. It's really the only thing I'm focused right in front of me that I'm paying any real attention to in
Right.
the world.
So I actually had a really fun thing that I did with Superman ice cream, right? And I went to Zingerman's Creamery where they had the Super Zingerman's ice cream. And actually before doing that, I went to Washington on Dairy where they were scooping Strohs. And, and as somebody who was very curious about food, I took the little tasting spoon to my scoop and I was just scooping out the yellow and I was tasting the yellow to try to, ascertain the lemoniness and taking the blue and trying to figure out what Blue Moon was. And then having that sweet, acrid red, just like, this is red pop. I was like, why would anybody eat this? Right.
And you really got that from just the red?
And I got that from just the red. However, when I went to Zingerman's Creamery and I did the same thing. And at Zingerman's Creamery, their yellow was lemon. Their blue Moon was developed to be a vanilla almond mixture, and the red was raspberry. Yep. And to me, the entire thing tasted much more like an adult flavor. It was it was childhood
I've had it,
colors,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
But it tasted like this adult flavor of almost like a raspberry tart.
I enjoy that it's raspberry and not strawberry because I feel like a lot of default goes to strawberry versus raspberry into those the rainbow ice creams.
I just prefer. I was very grateful that it wasn't red pop, right?
It does brighten it up.
I have
Right.
drunk my fair share of some red pops, but because my brother-in-law worked for Faygo for a while, and so there was a lot of free Faygo going around the family for a while,
Right.
and red pop was just wow.
But after doing this experiment and trying these little bits to really try to get these flavors of the different colors, I spoke with Lexi, who is the one who developed this flavor for Zingerman's Creamery, and she revealed to me the secret that the flavors are mixed into all of the colors.
Oh,
And that the lemon had the Blue Moon flavor in it and the raspberry flavor in it. The yellow had
Sure.
had all of the flavors in it, and it was literally
Love
just
that.
my brain
Oh.
playing tricks on me. I did not taste anything but lemon in the yellow.
When you did it, did you mix it all together to try and make a fully homogenized flavor? Because then was that different for you?
It did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's
So,
the
right.
bit that I've done where I've blended it all together when I had the flavors. But I gotta tell you, I still will go back to most of them have no flavor. It's vanilla with color.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the poor man's way into that game of you're gonna make your kid happy without upsetting them because really they want the color and they not give two cahoots about it
See,
being flavored.
I have mixed feelings about this. I do. Because as much as I love the Super Zingerman's ice cream, because it's unique, because it's different, I do like the different flavor aspects. I do feel like it is very bright. It's very colorful and creamy and delicious. I do feel like you need to have that very specific flavor for each color. I think that's very key to Superman ice cream and the tradition.
Many a
of it.
child has been ruined in that world.
But I'm not sure that the Stroh's does it that way either. That And now having learned that my brain is going to fool me, I don't know if I trust myself to
You
to
need,
say
you
for
need
sure.
the inside track on Stroh's to give
I
you the
do.
answer.
I do.
Oh, she's Marcy's your brain will mess you up on all that
It
stuff, you
will,
know.
but I guarantee, because like probably I would say one of the strongest flavors for me personally on my palate out of those three is going to be the red pop, and it is my favorite for that reason.
Really?
So
I looked it up. It's
It's-
meant to be strawberry
it
flavored.
is meant to
Oh.
be strawberry.
And I'm like, I get nothing of strawberry.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to blindfold Marcy and do this.
Yeah, yeah. I'm game. I'm totally game.
I'll make
but-
you the syrupiest syrup ever, like almost 100% pure sugar, and red pop, and see if you can tell the difference between the two.
Right, well, no, my experiment for Marcy is to blindfold her to get some of the Strohs,
Yep.
right, and to do that little thing where we dig out just the red.
Okay.
Just the red.
Are we
Just-
going on an
There you
ice
go.
cream tour now?
No, we can just go one.
just
We just
super
do
red.
one, right?
Yeah, but no, every single time, because I feel like the first flavor I go to, because I just want to taste it singly, is that red pop, and that's when I taste the red, that's all I'm getting.
Why do you think this hasn't got out of Michigan, or out of the Midwest at least? Because it's not everywhere. I didn't see this up in Maine, up in Kennebunkport when I was there. Wasn't in New York. It seems like a really easy crowd pleaser of a thing. It nearly hasn't spread, right? You didn't see it in New York when you used to live in New York, right?
I don't remember it. And I think some of this too is that much like the ice cream makers there's a lot of regionality with
Sure.
ice cream makers. It is
100%.
very difficult to have a
This
national
is like a
ice
good,
cream brand.
solid kid win, though. Like, I feel like, especially, and I get the flavor, but if it's vanilla and just colors, that seems like a no-brainer. Like, you should put that on your list.
Right. Well, I think they're brightly colored ice creams everywhere, right?
Okay. That's true.
True.
Right. I think that then there may be some sort of manufacturing thing, but it seems like it's challenging to
Well,
get all of those mixed in without them turning into a complete sludge.
I think there's probably also, there is that. I would also say there's also probably some level of nowadays, like trying to stay away from the food coloring is probably some part of that game. What it is. Most of the food colorings you use in the US are banned in the rest of the world. Solid work, America, holding strong. Like, yep, we'll keep using that red food coloring. It's fine.
Amazingly, and I need to say this just to counteract that the colors that are used at Zingerman's Creamery were 100% natural.
Yeah.
Blew me away that they were able to figure out a way how to make that work.
Yeah,
But,
I remember when Smarties, not the Smarties over here, but like the chocolate-covered candy, the M&Ms of the UK, when we changed the natural food colorings and just how bright you can really still stay. It's just different.
Yes.
It's a different, like, pastel-y version, but still very bright.
Yes.
In that color.
Well, there was a long time when you couldn't find red M&Ms because
Because of the dye.
actually the Faygo Red Pop was the one that kind of opened that Pandora's box.
And
and
it's still as red as ever.
yes. That red food guy.
Yeah. All right. So we've Supermaned it. We're going into the next one of cherries. We are a cherry state here in the state of Michigan, and we're going to do spoon fruit. I think that this is the way forward of talking about cherries, because we could talk about just cherry pie, chocolate-covered cherries, but that spoon fruit, that is a life changer.
Right. Traverse City is the cherry capital of the world, right? Right. When you're driving up north, in the summertime, you'll see people standing on the side of the road, with. I was corrected. I thought they were sour cherries, but Marcy told me that they were tart cherries.
I know that got into a little bit of a quick fight there in the day. I wasn't even involved in this one.
Right. I believe that our friends at American Spoon Fruit in Petoskey call theirs sour cherry, if I'm not mistaken.
She's gone quiet over
They
there.
do. No, I'm well aware that Spoon Fruit calls it sour cherry preserves.
You've done it wrong, American Spoon. I'm so sorry, Marcy has spoken.
That's okay. But yeah, no. When I was younger, so my father went to school at Ferris in Big Rapids, and I remember any time we were driving up that way, he would stop by the side of the road at any of these cherry stands because that's something that reminded him of when he was in college, and he often hitchhiked back home.
Oh, really?
Back in the day.
Nice.
Yeah. So stopping by the roadside to get a little basket of cherries was a very, very common thing. And so that's something that I often associate with like my father and my family is like stopping roadside to get these. And I don't know that I know that we do get some from some of our local farmers and even the West Side farmers right right now has baskets of tart cherries out every Thursday at the Roadhouse because it's that time of year. But I do feel like they almost taste better, of course, coming from up north in that area.
It's funny because we've had some terrible years over the last 10 years of
Yeah.
cherry harvests up there
Yeah.
as well, and cause all kinds of craziness. But this spoon fruit, like it's not your normal preserve. Like this is quite a special thing. Who wants to talk on that? Do you want to go, Lee? Your love of it?
Well, I actually prefer the conserve
really?
over preserve.
I didn't think I knew that.
Yeah, I go for. Well, we talked about this in our rhubarb podcast, but American Spoon, they, every once in a while they'll make a conserve that I absolutely love, and they'll make it once and never again. And but I always like to get.
They're listening to this podcast. They will change their mind.
And I like rhubarb hibiscus conserve 1 year, bluebarb conserve 1 year, which is rhubarb and blueberry, and then what I always get every year from when the summer sale at Zingerman's mail order is that Zingerman's actually has partnered with American Spoon to create different conserves, and one of them is a cherry berry conserve, which is tart cherries and raspberries. And then the other one is a blueberry blackberry conserve, and they're made just for Zingerman's, and I love them.
So for folks who are listening, would you care to elaborate about what a conserve is? And how
I would say it's preserves without the pectin. That's how I would quickly describe it.
Okay.
But
I have a different chef version over here. But
Okay.
that's
But
okay.
tell me about the
keep
chef
going.
version.
No, because I mean, there's pectin in cherry seeds and
Sure.
what it is,
Yep.
and so it's going to be natural. It is the consistency game, right? And that's the bit where I think we can all have this little fight between the preserve being a jam. That like you can still have your cherry chutneys too, which is a very heavily way on this side. Then I'd go up to like jam. Then I've got my preserves / the natural preserves, but then the spoon fruit is kind of that looser but yet still jellified. I mean, sorry, it's a kind of not a very appealing sounding, albeit I love jelly, but it's like this jellified, like looser fruit, but you've got the chunkiness of the cherry is kept, and then you've got like the jellified liquid in there without it being too firm. And you put that on a piece of toast is a different experience than jam. Like I like a good jam. Do not get me wrong. I probably have 25 different jams. That is probably one of my food problems. But spoon fruit has that like it's perfect. And it, as soon as it hits that warm piece of toast or something warm, you put it on, it liquefies quickly while still staying cold. And there's something different at jam where jam kind of holds its own. And so when I talk about that spoon fruit, you've got that like just slightly liquefied as it hits that hot surface and then being able to enjoy it.
It doesn't quite spread evenly. I had it on my toast this morning.
There you go.
The sour cherry reserves from Spoonfruit. And for me, it's key to have a slightly melted layer of butter. You still want that butter creamy because.
Oh, you've got to protect the bread. I mean, if we want to go into toast etiquette, my people understand a good piece of toast.
We're not
Butter is-
savages.
Yes, the butter is protecting the bread.
When you go to layer that spoon fruit on, because it doesn't spread evenly like a jam.
100%. You get those
it
chunky big.
swirls. It
Yeah.
swirls into the butter.
Oh,
Yeah.
what? No.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
temperature butter are you using?
Partially melted, like it has to be softened, and then it's creamy, and then you just swirl.
You would
this,
never survive in South Devon. She'd be
Swir-
dead by the
swirl-
afternoon.
Oh my gosh, it's so good though. It's so good. You get this creaminess of the salted butter, and then these almost whole cherries in the spoon fruit.
I think when you hear the word spoon fruit, it describes it very well, right?
Yes.
It's not over processed.
Do you know the technique for how to make that happen?
No, I've
No.
never done this. I'm imagining it is about separation. I mean, if you're asking me, like, I want to go recreate it, which I've never tried.
Sure.
Fascinating.
Why would you?
Why-
They do it so
is-
well.
It is one of those things where I don't think I'd bother. It's like I've tried to do a few things over the years and like, nope, done. Not going to keep buying it. Don't want to do anything else. I've got to imagine you make the conserve separately and then you process the cherries separately and then combine them in order to keep that texture the way it is and in order to get such a beautiful, fresh, like jelly almost in there in the same way.
So you guys have you heard about the Russian way of making tea, where you sweeten your tea with preserves? And so your eyebrows right now, Kieran.
All right.
I was hoping for this
That's the
reaction.
end of today's podcast. We were going to talk about fudge, but I think
let's
that
t-
we've just burned the boat.
Let's talk to the Brit about Russian tea. So traditionally, Ruskies sweeten their tea with preserves, and in an interest of
Yes, they
trying
do.
this,
They do make some bad life choices.
in an interest of trying this, I have only done it with spoon fruit cherry preserves, and the reason is because it does melt into the liquid, the actual like jam part of it, right? But then you get the preserved whole cherries in the bottom of the teacup, and that's part of the joy of doing this style of tea service. Is you get to the bottom of a cup and you have this fruit that's been macerating with the tea.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
be very clear, like, don't do that.
Yeah. It's an
Listeners,
amazing experience. I highly recommend.
I will be strongly editing this section, and we'll get into this. I would say, like, we've mentioned American Spoon, and I want to be clear, like, we all work in the Zingerman's world, and we interact with American Spoon. They're amazing producers. This is not sponsorship supporting them. They just make amazing preserved products, and their spoon fruit is one of the like gems that is, I don't want to say, it's semi misunderstood in the world of what that is. It's just so good.
They were on my radar long before I started working in the
Yeah,
Zingerman's
yeah.
Empire, and and they were amazing.
Like it's a gem of a setup. You should 100% go if you have not experienced American Spoon.
Yeah.
Experience any of the things they do.
Right. And
So
what
that-
they're doing too, right? And how this really sort of ties back into summer, right? Is they are taking all of this summertime regional Michigan produce,
Yep.
and they are doing a great service to it, right? They are treating it gently. They're putting the fruit center at the center of what they do, and making it available to us to enjoy throughout the long Michigan
Well,
winters.
and I know that it's upset a little bit in the past for Lee about products they've made. They've done a lot of fun tests and quirkiness in there, but in general, they're pretty purists in what they make, and they are very regionally specific when they label stuff, and I do enjoy that. I know we're meant to be talking about cherries, but they do an exceptionally good job in that world of what it is, for sure.
Well, they've been around since 1982, and
It's a good year.
and
Good year for the deli. Good year for your
years
host.
my family and I would go up to and they're based in Petoskey, and we would go up to Petoskey and Charlevoix every summer, and so I've been eating American Spoon preserves and conserves for almost that long, so
Yep.
since the early 80s.
You want to talk about a good summer treat? That cherry preserves over on top of vanilla ice cream. Mm-hmm.
Living that world all day long. All right. We're burning the clock, and we've got to fit in fudge. So we're going to close out cherries and move into the world of Mackinac fudge. And I should say fudge in general for me, but we're going to talk a little bit about Mackinac fudge. Who wants to get us going on that one?
So I'll do the hot take of saying that that I generally don't get fudge, and right and have not
There are
been the.
times, Daniel, I love you, and there are times where we can never talk.
That's
after a
fair.
podcast.
No, I know. Right, and I went to Mackinac Island, and I tried to figure this out. And I think I came away as somebody who is a fudge hater would be strong. Here's the issue about fudge for me.
Don't worry,
right?
we'll be muting his
Right.
mic for the rest of this discussion.
I want fudge to be better. It looks like it should be better. It looks like it should be this richer, more chocolatey experience.
Are you looking for velvet? Or are you looking for powdery? Because there are two. I think over here in the U.S. specifically, you as an American population of fudge wants that almost smooth, like very refined version of fudge.
What I want is it's
Like
it's
gummy almost.
largely chocolate. So what I really want is that deep dark chocolate experience.
Sure.
I want it to be silky. I think in my heart what I really want it to be is I want it to be a solidified chocolate ganache.
Sure. Well, I would tell you, like, chocolate's one of the hard. So I do come from South Devon, England, and we make a lot of fudge. We are known. Chocolate is one of the harder ones to pull off well, because chocolate at that temperature is not a happy place. And so you've got to put the chocolate in at the right time when you're making your fudge. So you make your fudge, you add your chocolate. And you need to add a very high cocoa content chocolate with a very low fat content because you don't want to mess with your fudge. Or you've got to change your fudge, which is a whole different game. And you want to get enough packed in there without it turning into a hard bar and stay in the right place. It is a lot harder, whereas I think that in general, a lot of fudge made in general is made very quickly and easily without the considerations of those things.
Yeah, but it doesn't really look like it's made quickly and easily. They're spending lots of
It's a
time
lot of
with
dangerous world.
right, with the they're using copper kettles, they're using marble slabs, they're hand turning everything. Right, there's a lot of work. There's
the
a
beat
lot
is
of
almost the more important. Like getting it to its temperature, sure. Getting it on that table and working it, that's the game. Like unworked fudge is awful, but I feel like over here we overwork the fudge. There's a point where a little bit of text, because there's a lot of fudge I eat unless you add product like biscuits and chips and all the other things into it at the end. It's very smooth, whereas back home fudge has a texture. Like
what's the texture?
It's I would say like, oh, this is a terrible analogy. Oh God, you're going to be like, I'm never eating Devon fudge. I'm so sorry, everyone in the UK that will eventually hear this. Like a really sharp cheddar cheese texture.
Okay.
But not cheesy at all.
No.
But like
right.
that's what it should be.
I know what you're talking
Almost crystally and grainy, and there's a bit of it left in there. Whereas over here, it's super smooth. It's almost too sugary smooth. And fudge is a very thing. We used to serve with pie and mash a little block of fudge every time because I love making it. It's definitely that world. Whereas over here, it's that incredibly smooth processed version of it, of what it feels like.
It's dense.
Yeah.
And when you say texture, I want to say fudge-like.
Yeah.
Because it does really kind of have its own.
Well, that stuff I used to make, or when I do make it, it's much looser. And so it does have some lighterness to it. Fudge is by far and away a heavy thing. What it is it odd thing that it is made for a summer? Like the fudge is the summer game.
I think it's just associated with people visiting Mackinac Island during the summer. It's a common vacation, I think, for people in Michigan. And so of course that's the thing that you do before you leave. You pick up some fudge.
What I'm learning to do is to try to appreciate the thing for what it is versus what I might like it to be.
Yep.
So when I went to Mackinac Island, right, and so much of the fudge experience seems to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, seems to be going into a fudge shop and tasting. That the tasting part is a real big piece of this, and the other part that also seemed to be a big piece of this is the variety. That there is just a tremendous number, an overwhelming abundance of flavors to choose from. And is that correct?
It's the shelf-stable ice cream of the world.
Yeah, flavors and ingredients, and then I think this is where, again, you get some kind of different camps, because if you're a die-hard texture fan, you're not probably going to really explore that world of turtle fudge or pistachio fudge or, almond or walnut, whereas there's going to be people who do really want to have that play on textures and ingredients and try all the different things. And that's kind of the beauty of Mackinac Island fudge, is that you get like this wide variety in which to choose from, and yes, you get to taste them.
Right, and I don't know how many fudge shops there are in Mackinac Island. Lee, with the research, probably has a good sense of it. But there are also, so not only is there a tremendous variety of flavors and of fudge, but there's also a tremendous number of places on the island to try them.
Yeah, it's like back to back, and I feel like you've got your absolute favorites that you've got to have out on Mackinac Island.
No. When you talk about absolute favorites, are we talking about flavors or are we talking about shops?
No, product shops.
So everyone has like their favorite shops.
Yeah, I feel like, to me, the flavors come and go with the seasons, and the chocolates have changed, even in the same one. The base fudge recipe and the process of making it, and that to me is the texture more. Again, I'm going back to that pace of it. But like, I love that fudge itself is the creation of a mistake. Like, I fudged it up is really because you did. It's caramel that went wrong.
Oh.
And then I messed it up, and now I need to do something with a big batch of caramel that I just screwed up. Do you know where it comes from? Fudge, sorry. I know we're not meant to be in but this is a Baltimore thing.
Oh.
It's an American thing. I'm a little sad.
Huh?
My people love it. And it's a beach thing too, like in the UK. Like we have it as like a sweet treat you take to the beach. It's very odd because it's dense, it's heavy, it's super sweet. On a hot day, that does not sound enjoyable, but somehow we have made it so. Like it shouldn't be. Like if you're like, oh, let's create something for the summer, it's not it, right? This sticky, sugary thing, but somehow it holds its own.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, Kieran, because I feel like it's now become very common to find it alongside taffy and lakeside
Yep.
towns. The
Yep.
last time I had fudge was actually up in Traverse City in
Yep.
the Bay, and they were selling it hand in hand.
See,
with
taffy makes way more sense to me in this little
Yeah.
packet wrapped up, but a
Mhm.
giant block of sticky fudge.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, I love it. Love, 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 love.
Now, where do you all stand on the freshness piece of this?
Oh,
It has to
yeah.
be fresh.
It has to be fresh.
Right, it has to right.
Like
'Cause-
within a couple of days at the very most, and it needs to burn through. I think that's the problem of some bad fudge that you'll experience out in the world is that block's been sitting there for a month of Sundays.
Right. So and like some things, right? They will just like olive oil, for example, can be good for a while, but
Yep.
will start declining immediately.
Yeah,
And
this is those natural flavors and
Right.
the things of all those free radical flavors are disappearing in it. One, you've chucked something into something that is too hot. Even if you've cooled it down right, it's still too hot because it needs to be malleable enough to set. So you've chucked in your raspberries or you've chucked in your chocolate and it's burning away all those flavors. So really, within a couple of days, it's losing its piece of
Yeah.
what it
but
is.
but my hunch is that as the best fudge
We're
is going to
not
be
good
the fudge.
fudge salesman here.
Right,
We're
the,
doing
the,
a
the,
very
fu-
bad
the
job.
fudge is going to be the best right when it's made.
Right, and honestly, still warm is a good place to be. And I think that is also a very different experience where most of the places where you get to like the taffy shop, it's a block that they've brought. Whereas you go to like a fudge maker and it is right there and in front of you, the best thing you can do is have whatever they're making right then and there or they just made and set off.
So that's a fast right. So the way that I had sort of thought about sort of exploring Mackinac Island fudge, given how many shops there are, for me, I've got my personal palate has fudge being just far too sweet, for me. So I like to have things in it that help reduce the sweetness. Walnuts, for example, are a
Sure.
great one, right?
Yeah.
Right. So and I really want it to be chocolatey. So for me, like I think my next time doing it, what I would like to do is to essentially walk my way from one end of the island to the other, only going in to sample the darkest chocolate walnut fudge that they have,
Sure.
and then at the end of that little stroll, I will know which is going to be the shot.
The other good one that's not, they do it up on Mackinac, but when you add booze to it. So like rum raisin ice cream, again, never really made it over here. Super popular back home. But rum raisin fudge, so you get those bursts of liquid, because you've got this very dense, dry thing, and then the raisins have almost been rehydrated, and then they've got that little bit of boozy flavor in them is really good, and that's where you have rum raisin and walnut in there. That's a really phenomenal flavor of there.
Right. So I suppose the other way of doing it is just going across the island, trying all the different shops, and asking for which one they just made.
Sure. I think that's a real good truth world of what that is.
So I think one of the things I look for in
And
a fudge
adding the
shop
salt too.
is
I have to say that.
typically like, because some shops will make it right in front of you and you can see them using like they're marbling
Sure.
the fudge in front of you, and the marbling is kind of a key process. And it's interesting that you say enjoying it while it's still warm. You do actually want to drastically drop the temperature of the fudge, so as you're marbling it, to prevent blooming.
Yep.
And we do talk about enjoying it fresh, but the nice thing about that then is it does become somewhat shelf stable when they do this, when they drop it down to 120 degrees rapidly on this marble countertop.
I love
And
that
then
you're
if
my
it's
fudge
carefully
maker. She does not have a phone open. She does not have notes in front of her. She is just saying that. That makes me so happy over here.
And then by having it wrapped and preserved in that wax paper, you can enjoy it for several days. But there is something to be said, again, about enjoying it. And while it's still slightly warm, in the warm sun by the lakeside, again, it's part of that like experience, right? But I'm somewhat of a purist when it comes to fudge. And I was as a kid. Like, I enjoyed all my ice creams and my candies, like my fudge, with nothing in it. I didn't like nuts.
Oh.
I didn't like anything mixed in. I didn't even really like
Sure.
chocolate chips. So for me, I think it was just very much a texture thing. But as an adult now, I think it is partially about watching out for that bloom, and making sure that, this has been cooled down properly to temperature. That
Well, and it's folding air into it, which changes its textural setup.
Right.
It changes the crystals that get set up in there. I
Yeah.
love that you are. Marcy's my fudge person. Okay, I love this. So the reality is, the one I love the most is clotted cream fudge. So again, super regional, very specific English thing. It's not up in Mackinac Island. We have now left Mackinac Island. We've gone to another island. But the reality is that is all about the flavor of the fats that are in it, and again, very purist. I like a good flavor, quirky piece in there. Salty fudge, super happy in that world. Rhubarb salty fudge is super happy in my world. But like double clotted cream, which is very funny because yes, you do put clotted cream in it, but it really has nothing to do with clotted cream. It's just the amount of cream that you've worked into the fudge. It's not that really clotted. We call it clotted cream fudge, but there's not that much clotted cream gone in there of what it is. So for you two, what is you said walnuts and chocolate. You're a purist. Lee, what's your fudge flavor?
I don't have a fudge flavor.
Oh, there
I
has to
don't-
be one at a table, doesn't
I
there?
don't eat fudge. It's too sweet. It's too
So
sweet.
you'll drink Red Pop?
No, I haven't.
have a slice of fudge and a tumbler full of Red Pop.
No, I've never been able to eat fudge. It's too sweet for me.
Have you tried it with the walnuts?
Well, I love chocolate and walnuts, but not. I can't. I don't know.
It's okay.
It's too sweet. It's too rich and too sweet, and I can't eat it.
So we used to do fudge because I like making fudge for free. It was just an added thing that I said, hey, Tabitha, on Pie and Mash, can I just make little packs of fudge and give it away? And it turned into a thing, right? There's some people that love it, some people that hate it, some people. And then we collected the code reds, so things that went wrong. And a couple of people were right, this is too sweet. I'm like, I can't change the sweetness of fudge. It's essential to its making. And then one of them was, it's very uninspired. And this was a cappuccino fudge. So I'd made like a white double cream and then a coffee top and layered them. And I was like, really? Because I'm like, this is pretty good. It is funny. No, there are people out there that sweetness is just too much. And it really, I mean, it is what it is, and it isn't going anywhere else into that world.
You don't have any of that still around in the kitchen?
No, I do not.
That's a shame.
We used to make it and put it in tins by the coffee station as well. It does keep really well. Like, have I had fudge that's 2 weeks old and it's fine? Sure. But I think those 2 days is like about what I want to eat fudge. And if it's sitting around for too much longer than that, it's not going to be as good, and it starts to bloom no matter what's happening at that point in that world.
At some point, it's like bad ice cream is still ice cream.
Correct. No, and like it definitely gives you that high level of the sweetness out there in the world.
I mean, I like to watch it being made. I like when they're
Sure, and I think that's
made
some of the
with
journey.
marble slabs
Yeah,
and stuff.
pouring it out on the marble
But,
is satisfying.
But
For
I
me
still,
for me to enjoy fudge, it would have to be there'd have to be a ton of walnuts in it.
the kids also enjoy a peanut butter chocolate fudge, and I feel like the
Yeah.
peanut butter and the saltiness of that also helps
See,
pick up the sweetness.
That's where I found peanut butter for the first in my childhood was in fudge.
Is in
Because
fudge.
peanut butter doesn't. I mean, it's there now, but when I was a child, peanut butter in a jar did. I think I've told many of you, like, peanut butter has no affinity for me whatsoever. In fact, I think it's weird. But in fudge, it made a lot of sense because that salty taste in there was a really good win.
Especially if it's a peanut butter fudge with,
Yep.
like not the actual peanut butter, because again, texture and
Yeah, and I have made fudge petit fours all my life as a chef. Like when I worked in Michelin star restaurants, very expensive hotels, turn down treats. Fudge was like a little dice of that with some pure chocolate ganache on the top. So fudge on the bottom and ganache on the top. I mean, that works very, very well because then you get very high cocoa flavor with the peanut butter fudge on the bottom is a really good win.
So what I did not hear, I heard Marcy talk about being a purist, but I did not hear a flavor that's associated with being a purist of fudge.
It's just as is.
it's chocolate.
No,
Oh.
what? No.
So see, this is exactly.
Chocolate always
Exactly.
Every time I have to edit these podcasts, I have to be like, oh, there's no swearing. Now I'm going to have to swear. Now I'm going to have to change what's in the podcast, and it's going to be censored.
Right.
What? Chocolate is not a purist. I'm done. I'm walking away. Shut it down.
Chocolate fudge.
Welcome to America.
Well, what's your definition of
fudge is what it is. It's a caramel that's then added with cream and butter. That is it. That is all it is.
so
That is
So if you were on Mackinac Island,
that is. I want
Right.
to try their fudge.
so
And
when you would you look for it, because they wouldn't have something that just says fudge? They would say
Yes.
it would be caramel fudge.
No,
Would it not
no,
be
no.
caramel.
No, it just says fudge. You can just buy plain fudge.
No.
It says it's got the P
No.
word in front of it. Plain Jane.
For real.
Plain Jane fudge. Yeah, and
Marcy?
it might have vanilla in
Any-
it. To be
right.
clear, the
Anyone?
vanilla
Looking
upsets
this
me.
up.
Vanilla upsets me because it again, the free radicals in vanilla are very delicate.
Sure.
Like you do not want to mess with vanilla. And putting vanilla right into fudge, you got to be real clever of how you do that game. And I'd rather put like a textured thing in it that has vanilla, because then it's protected. So if it was in for not wanting to talk about digestives, let's say graham crackers that were very heavily vanilla, that's a good way to get vanilla into my fudge. But putting vanilla straight in there, our purist is just those things. So you've got your caramel, your butter, and your cream.
Gotcha.
Sweet.
Interesting.
That is purist, yeah. Chocolate is I've adorned it with a flavor to hide things. It's like pineapple and cheese.
Well, I think again, like when we were talking about, the experience of going up to Mackinac Island, it is going to be that variance in flavor.
How
Chocolate
much
being the
do you
most
buy
traditional,
when you go? How much do you buy?
or
like, are you
whatever
a
the
big-
standard brick is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You don't
Because,
get-
well, then I share it.
You know
I
you can
don't-
have custom cuts, right? Because they've got
You
the
can.
slice
Oh,
and then
yeah,
they've got the
right.
block behind.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't buy any. So Lee's like, I'm out.
Yeah, I think I get upset because I am such a sucker for marketing, right? So they will have deals. If you buy
Sure,
X
yeah,
number,
three
then it's
different-
this price, and
With
then I
that
feel
giant pink strawberry ugly thing.
so. So I need to, right? I need to buy.
Everyone should stop my baking strawberry fudge. That's not a thing.
I need to buy however many pieces until I get the price break. So whatever that is, that's how much I buy.
Gotta say that's probably
and
like 4 to 5 slices in a.
Yeah.
I
one of
think
those
something.
boxes.
And thankfully, I've got
That's a lot of fudge.
I've got children, and so I get one
That's
for
still a lot of
me.
fudge.
It's a lot of fudge.
It's great gifts for people
Right.
too. Like you're
Yeah.
coming back from your vacation.
Right,
and-
but then you're eating it right, and I think maybe this is one of the reasons why I don't like fudge, because then I buy too much of it because they try to sell me too much of it,
Sure.
and I will go along with that, and then I'm eating it until it's gone, and it just it
So-
doesn't stay as good, right?
Over here, that standard brick is very big.
Mhm.
Back home, it's a piece of fudge.
Yeah.
Like a square.
Yeah.
Like a dice
Yeah.
size. That's how I remember getting fudge.
Mhm, mhm.
So this slab, I mean, you've got to break it up to eat it or eat it like a caveman
Yeah.
is a bit weird.
Yeah.
Whereas if you diced me up some,
Uh-huh.
I might buy less, but for a higher price.
Right.
I feel like that's the win that never really took over in the American fudge, especially up in Mackinac, because it's all about the block. I'm doing it with. I've got things when we do bake sales with my kids, and I'm like, yeah, just you want to sell it at a high price, right? And less. Sell it a smaller portion at a higher price. Don't sell some big thing and unit price is the way forward in your world. It is not about. And so, like, I'd rather buy a smaller amount of fudge at a higher price. They might not get as much dollars out of me personally, but they're going to make way more profit out of me in that game because I don't want the giant slab of fudge.
Right, and I'm surprisingly with you on this as well, right? Like I want a small cookie.
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
I do not want a cookie the size of my face.
I'm old and fat, and my metabolism is shut down, so it's like I could only taste small amounts of things.
But when you do buy the fudge at Mackinac Island, my memory was they still give you that little knife, so you can.
Yeah, yeah. That.
still-
Oh,
Yeah,
see,
you
that's
get the little
weird.
plastic knife.
Yeah, the plastic knife of uselessness. I have definitely gnawed on a slab of it. All right, we're coming to the end. Is there any burning things for you guys? We talked about the sweet taste of summer. Is there anything else out there that we haven't covered? You're like, this is the thing that I must see out there while we're in the summer throes of the Midwest.
Well, I was going to mention s'mores.
Oh, okay,
That's
sure.
that's been
Again, not a thing I ever understood until I got over here.
It's the best. But I am a s'mores purist in that I will only eat s'mores if I'm sitting around a campfire
It has to be around a
and I'm toasting the marshmallows. I'm not torching them. I'm toasting them. And
Okay.
then I usually take 3 marshmallows, toast them till they're practically falling off the stick, and then I get the honey made graham crackers and the Hershey bar.
Okay. I was going to ask what chocolate.
Oof.
Well, it's got to be Hershey's.
Oof.
I know. I
It's-
know now.
I mean,
I
Kieran
will
and I are
say-
friends again.
Yeah,
I will say
it's terrible.
that
It's the American cheese of the
I
chocolate
have
world.
upgraded to Hershey with almonds.
almonds, purist over here. No way.
Wow.
No way.
But yeah,
I've tried. If you've so when we do them out here for weddings, we use Mindo chocolate,
Mhm.
and that is really good.
Yeah.
Like it
okay.
works.
And I would
incredibly
be
well.
up for trying better chocolate, but that's all we ever had was Hershey's.
Yeah.
My child eats Hershey chocolate bars. It makes me cry every single day.
That's the only instance I'll eat a Hershey
Okay.
chocolate bar is when I'm making a s'more. But
At home, my boyfriend's kids have dairy allergies, so it has to be dark chocolate, like really dark chocolate.
very
and
happy
we
for them.
use like, the Lindor, like whatever's
Yeah.
available, at Bush's is 70% or higher.
I've hated s'mores for most of my life, but I've found a way of enjoying them a bit, and that is using the Zingerman's Bakehouse graham crackers because those are fantastic.
They are
The other
fantastic
part
graham
that I've always struggled with is that the chocolate never melts, even with the toasted marshmallows, and I want that chocolate to melt. Using Mindo, I try and find the best chocolate that I can
Yep.
and the best marshmallows.
I made
that
it into
I can.
ganache and poured it over
Right.
them.
Oh, so what I've been doing is I've actually been breaking off little batons of chocolate from whatever good bar, dark bar I can, and stuffing them inside the molten marshmallows.
Ooh.
So they and then waiting a few moments for
Yeah.
them to start to melt.
Did you know that they actually sell marshmallows this way? They already have the batons of chocolate in them exactly for this reason. Do not buy them. Do not. Speaking from experience, gross. But I like your method, Daniel, of using good chocolate, not whatever chocolate they're stuffing these marshmallows with, and actually toasting them inside the marshmallow. That
What
sounds
about
delightful.
you two? Any summer treats outside of these that you're like, this is something I'm done or I'm about to do as we go into the season?
We've kind of
Yeah.
passed strawberry season, but strawberries, macerated, balsamic,
Yep.
right? Just maybe with some whipped up cream.
Sure,
or sour cream and brown sugar on fresh strawberries is really good.
for sure.
Yeah. No, I would say any kind of summer fruit pie. I know we didn't really talk about pie today, but die-hard fan of pie before all else, any other dessert. So cherry pie being the big one, tart cherry pie, and and peach. Right now, peach pie. We're going into peach season, so those are a couple of my favorites.
Sadly,
Yeah.
recently bid adieu to rhubarb pie.
We did. Yeah.
Rhubarb pie,
Mm-hmm.
strawberry. I do like rhubarb, but again, kind of a purist when it comes to strawberry pie. Not strawberry rhubarb pie, but just strawberry pie.
Yeah.
And just to bring things full circle, with peach season, the Red Haven peach preserves from
Oh,
American
yeah,
Food
yeah,
are right.
yeah,
Like as
yeah,
much as
yeah.
I like their sour
American
cherry,
Spoon, American
that
Spoon,
Red
yeah.
Haven stuff,
110%.
dear God.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I love Red Haven peaches. Love
I think the thing that I know we talked about Super Mario ice cream, so maybe I'm not going off of it, is that your local little ice cream stand that's the independent one. We've
Yeah.
got the one in our town. When we go up to Caseville, we go up to the Grindstone. Like the independent ice cream shops, those are the things I look forward to this summer.
And now two in Ann Arbor.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Mil- Milk and Froth has added to
Yep.
Blank Slate.
Yeah, to me, the ones that you've got in your little hometown or where you go on vacation, go out and eat them because they're magical. I mean, when I take all the kids in our car out to Grindstone. It's probably a good 40 minutes away from where we're staying. And you can have the 4-scoop thing. And I talk about this place a lot, but it's the same for the one that I've got in Chelsea, the little creamery that's here in Dexter. Those places need our support in their ice cream experience of what they are, because they make their money in the summer. There isn't a lot going on there in the winter in those worlds.
100%. And I know there is a craving for soft serve, but we do have in Dexter the Dairy Queen right across the street from Dexter Creamery.
Yep.
Please go to Dexter Creamery. Don't go to Dairy Queen.
Yeah. I would
Dairy Queen will always be around. Yeah.
Dairy Queen will always be around. And honestly, they do such a nice job in there. They've got the board games in there that we go in there a lot. When they do the Christmas period, you go in and you can decorate the gingerbread houses in there as well. There's a lot of fun things. All right, coming to the end. Anything last burning from anyone for the summer? If not, I'm going to shut us down. We have gone the longest in our podcast so far today. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll see you all really, really soon. Thank you so, so much, my lovelies, for tuning in and listening to today's episode of the Heartland Hot Dish podcast. Hit that like button, subscribe, and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more listeners just like you. Until next time, keep savoring the flavors of the Heartland and sharing the love for this vibrant community. Take care and stay connected.